You're listening to Fitness in Focus, a podcast that delves into simple strategies to balance work and wellness, helping you make every day your best day. Hello and welcome to another episode of Fitness in Focus. With New Year around the corner, I'm sure you guys are ready with your New Year's resolution. Some of you may have decided to focus more on your physical and mental health, while some may have decided to spend less time on social media, while some of you want to learn an instrument. But what if I tell you most of you will fail? Not because you cannot go to the gym or learn an instrument, but because most of us don't know how to intentionally rewire our brain to create positive habits. Though it may sound very complicated, but it's quite powerful. Habits are some routines that we do unconsciously and it becomes a part of our lives. It can be good or bad, depending on whether it is constructive or destructive. But what if I tell you that on a cellular level, it is the building block of everything you become or want to become in life? I assure you, by the end of this episode, you will understand the power your habit holds and learn at least a few ways with which you can rewire your brain to create positive habits. We'll explore the science of habits and how they are formed and broken, and how you can implement strategies. This episode is inspired by James Clear's brilliant book, Atomic Habits, and several other articles I read online. And I've provided the link below so that after this episode, you can learn more of them. Ready? Let's get this started. Let's begin by understanding the basics of habits. At their core, habits are routines of behaviors performed regularly, often unconsciously. A habit is a practice you repeat so regularly that it can be hard to change. For example, you may have the habit of scrolling Insta when you're sitting idle, or licking your lips while you're doing a public speaking. But how does this happen? Our brain is hardwired to pick up on things that rewards us and punishes us. Your brain recognizes a pattern like action and satisfaction. In this case, the action of scrolling on social media brings us satisfaction because it entertains, thereby dopamine kick. But is this habit a constructive or a destructive habit? Our brain chases the dopamine high. So when a behavior comes along that results in a reward, the brain builds a connection between that behavior and pleasure, and it can be hard to shake. This creates a loop called a habit loop. Here's how the habit loop works. First, cue. You experience a stimulus, a trigger. It could be being in a certain location, smelling a certain smell, seeing a certain person, or feeling a particular emotional state, among many other possibilities. Then comes craving. The stimulus causes you to desire a particular outcome that you find rewarding. It motivates you to act. Then comes response. You engage in behaviors, thoughts, or actions you take to get that outcome. And last is the reward. The outcome occurs and you feel a sense of reward as a result, satisfying your craving. The pleasure or relief you experience reinforce the cue, making the cue even better at triggering the craving next time. That's why it's an endless loop. The habit loop can lead to undesirable habits. But using the same concept of habit loop, we can create desirable habits. For example, next time when you're sitting idle or traveling on a bus or metro, instead of scrolling on social media, read a book or maybe listen to a podcast, maybe this podcast. Over the time, situation of sitting idle or traveling will unconsciously drive you to read a book. Now, here's the kicker. Habits form because our brains are constantly looking for ways to save effort. They are efficient but can also trap us in unhelpful cycles. The key to change lies in understanding and interrupting this loop. Now that we understand the mechanics of habits, let's talk about analyzing when and how to make or break one. This starts with self awareness. Number one, observe your patterns. Spend a week tracking your habits. Note what you do, when you do, and what triggers it. Number two, identify your cue. Is it a time of a day or a specific emotion? or even a social situation. Number three, understand your cravings. Ask yourself, what am I actually seeking? Often, we are not craving chocolate, we are craving comfort. To drop a destructive habit and take up a constructive one is something that requires a bit of effort and consistency. To practice it at home is straightforward. Reflect on how unhealthy behaviors make you feel bad and how healthy behaviors make you feel good. Write it down. Then, talk to someone about them. Reread and what you have written a month down the road. When you see the data that you have done and what you said you would do, you develop a belief in yourself, says Catherine Roscoe Barr. She is a Vancouver based wellness coach with a background in neuropsychology who has successfully used neuroplasticity to adopt positive fitness and nutrition habits. Importantly, for actions that have more long term benefits, it's important to take time out to celebrate the short term benefits. Yes, over time, eating nutrient rich foods will probably increase your energy and focus and maybe create a stronger physique. But the brain has a tough time sticking with something if it doesn't see immediate results. That's why journaling soon after an activity is important to fuse feelings with action. I am proud that I made that choice. Or I was more energetic after lunch. These are positive feelings you might have after picking a kale salad over a cheeseburger. It's vital to take a moment to acknowledge those so your brain can learn to crave that connection next time lunch rolls around. Study suggests regularly going back and reading the past few weeks and months of your journal or notes to truly see the data in action. When you see the data, you know that it works and it convinces your brain through your own words and writings that yes, indeed, this is really powerful. But why is it so important to make or break a habit? How does it impact the bigger goals in life? James Clear's book, Atomic Habit, has the best explanation to this. In Atomic Habits, James Clear emphasizes that small, consistent habits are the building blocks of significant change. He argues that focusing solely on goals is insufficient. The systems that you put in place to achieve those goals are what truly matters. Goals set the direction, but systems determine the progress. For example, if your goal is to write a book, simply setting the goal won't make it happen. Creating a daily habit of writing 500 words is the system that leads to success. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Small habits may seem insignificant at the moment, but their cumulative effect is transformative over time. Some constructive habits is equivalent to the process of building potential energy. Every small action that you take is like adding weight to a spring. Over time, the spring becomes loaded with potential energy and eventually it releases, creating a breakthrough. Focus on creating a habit that is identity driven and not goal driven. The most effective way to build lasting habits is to focus on the person you want to become rather than just the outcome you want to achieve. This approach shifts the emphasis from external results to internal transformation. Identity based habits focus on aligning your actions with your self perception. Instead of saying that I want to lose weight or I want to run a marathon, you start by asking, what kind of person achieves these results? And aim to become that person. Goal driven mindset that I want to lose 10 kg, while identity driven mindset says that I'm healthy and active person. When you adopt an identity driven approach, every habit that you build reinforces that identity, creating a stronger foundation for long term change. Goals are about results, but identity is about who you are. When you focus on your identity, habits become natural. If you see yourself as a runner, going for a jog feels like an extension of who you are, not a chore. If you see yourself as an athlete, you would think that what would an athlete do if once he or she has lost 10 pounds? Will they stop there or they keep going? Implementing these small habits that will ultimately make you what you want to be is not a one size fits all concept. You have to understand what you want to be and sort out the system for the same. But there are some small principle that applies to everyone. Number 1, make it easy. Reduce friction. If you want to start exercising, lay out your workout clothes the night before. The easier the habit, the more likely you'll stick to it. Number 2, start small. Small habits compound over time. Instead of saying, I'll work out for an hour every day, start with 2 minutes. As you build consistency, you can scale up, or as I did to reduce my time on social media. I restricted the time I spend on social media from the phone system. Number 3, be patient. James Clear reminds us that the habits are compound interest of self improvement. You may not see the results immediately, but trust the process. Celebrate small wins along the way to keep yourself motivated. Focus on identity and not goals. Here are the powerful insights from the atomic habit. Don't just set a goal like I want to lose 10 kilos. Instead, shift your mindset to I am a healthy person. When your habits align with your identity, they become much easier to maintain. Number 5, reward yourself. Every time you complete a habit, reward yourself. The reward doesn't have to be big or small. Fist pump or a mental good job can work wonders. The point is to associate the habit with positivity. Now, few exercises that you can try. Link your new habit to an existing one. For example, after you brush your teeth, try to meditate for 2 minutes. Or after you drink your morning coffee, try to write your to do list. Building habits isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every small action you take, no matter how insignificant it seems, contributes to the bigger picture of who you want to become. Remember, you don't rise to the level of goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So, start small, stay consistent, and focus on becoming the person you aspire to be. Change doesn't happen overnight, but with patience, the results can be life changing. Thank you for tuning to Fitness in Focus. If this episode has added value to your life and educated you with something, please give us a shout out on social media. Share this episode with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe if you're listening on YouTube and hit that follow button if you're listening on Spotify, Amazon, or JioSaavn. Until next time, stay fit, stay strong, and keep grinding.